Christine Matus, and I am so happy all of you are joining us for our episode on the Heart to Heart series. And this is our network building segment where we love to showcase referral partners, people that we know in the industry who are at the top of their game. And we really feel it's so important for you to get to know them. And I usually love to showcase people that I know that have the expertise, has so much to share, and can really help all the families and business owners who listen to this make decisions and know that there are experts in that field that you can turn to. So today, I am very, very excited to have Daniel Cooper with us today. He is joining us to share his expertise and really talk about, how he got into the business and some of the things that he's probably looking into as we have new regime of the administration coming in. New president will be installed, and what that means for all of you. He is the director of PCE. It's a business valuation practice. He really is very good in advising clients across different types of industries on valuation matters. His appraisal work also, when it comes to trust and estates work, includes multiple engagements with clients that are engaged in the top 25 Forbes billionaire list. So we're talking to someone who can help, who has seen things, who can deal with many different aspects of people's businesses and their lives, and really has been in the game for a long time. So Daniel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
It's great to be here, Christine. Thanks for giving a little intro and bio. Where shall we go next?
Oh, goodness. Well, there's just a lot of things that I'm so excited about to have you here. But I think, one of the things I'm always interested is to find out, when someone is at the top of their game, what made you decide to go into this field? What got you to where you are now, if you can share that?
Yeah, great question. So I grew up in the United Kingdom and emigrated to the United States in my early 20s after graduating Oxford University, which I guess is something we have in common, Christine.
Yes.
And after my degree, I joined a business valuation firm as an analyst. Um, Started doing, things from the ground level in terms of spreading information into a financial model, understanding how to value a business. Through the early years of my career, I obtained a chartered financial analyst designation through 3 years of study after my undergraduate degree, and worked at that same firm from analyst up to senior manager for a little over a decade. So got to understand through doing how to come up with the correct value for a business, how to help clients who are doing estate planning work and help them transfer their interests in different types of businesses efficiently, so they can get that wealth down to the next generation in the right way. After about 15 years in my prior firm, I received an opportunity to step up here at PCE. We are a Florida-based firm, and I'm a guy up in the Northeast. My team down in Orlando is very experienced, and I work with them on a whole variety of projects, including engagements that come in through attorneys in the tri-state area.
Now, were you always interested in evaluating businesses, or was there something that occurred to you that made you decide this is the area for you?
That is a great question. So, as I said, I grew up in the UK, and my parents would always buy probably the UK equivalent of the New York Times on a Sunday, and my eye was instantly drawn to the business section, talking about companies on the stock market, companies being bought by each other, and what types of prices were being paid for those businesses and why, and what made a company and a transaction successful versus not so successful. So it was always a passion of mine, something that I didn't have to think too hard about whether I enjoyed it or not. It was just please give me more information on this sort of thing. And that led to my, pursuit of, an economics degree in the UK, and was, corporate finance within that degree was definitely my favorite semester.
I love
Uh,
that.
yeah.
So I was economics degree also at Rutgers, so I see that. Now, did any other family member in finance or anything? I love hearing how people fall into a certain area, and I'm always curious of what influenced them, or sometimes it's just like you said, just something that just strikes you.
Oh, so my parents had, mixed professional backgrounds. My dad had done an MBA with some finance, and but in terms of my pull to it, it wasn't so much a parent's choice of career. It was just what struck me, and what I wanted to learn more about, through my studies, and then, fortunately through my professional career.
I love that. So what would you say is what's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job um, is seeing a client satisfied, and um, I really enjoy when a client has a feeling about what they want, but not really a fully fleshed out solution. I'm actually working with, an optician in the New York City area right now on an estate planning project, and uh, he didn't have a clear picture of, what he wanted. He
Yeah.
he kind of has um, not got, fully an estate planning attorney fully engaged, or he's kind of rotated through a couple of attorneys, but being trusted by a client to, deal with these assets they spent decades building up, and then, seeing them be able to, avoid paying too much tax through
Yeah.
the, working with the estate planning attorneys, working with their CPAs, and really coming up with a game plan um, that matches their values. When that all comes together, it's very satisfying, and perhaps you can
Yeah.
resonate with that, given what you do in your practice.
100%. And I think what's always surprising is that, as much as you and I, we deal with regulation, we deal with numbers, there is room to be creative, and I think that's the fun part for me, that, we get all these tools that we understand and how they work. Then we have someone who would like help. And boy, I love to dig deep and see like what else can we do to help them. And that's
Hmm.
really where you can be creative about it, really, and it's, I can hear that in you, like you really like to dig in and find out, well, what else can we do to help them holistically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoy it when I build up a rapport with these clients, and um, they come to me when they have, perhaps a problem with another vendor, or just kind of that they can sense through, like, my tone of voice and the way I approach things, that I have their best interests, and that I'm, passionate about making them happy, and not just kind of offering, a cookie cutter service, and moving on to the next one. That I care about each outcome, and that I care about the service I'm providing. And
I
each
love
person
that.
who's working with us has built up their assets over, sometimes multiple generations. So these are things that they have
That's
had to work, so hard for. So we have to treat that with a lot of respect.
I'm curious. So, with you dealing with a lot of very successful clients, those, like you said, are able to pass on their legacy to the next generation and the next generation. For clients like those, I was curious, do they all have some type of common characteristic that, that jumps out at you? Like, oh, it seems like a lot of these people who have this wealth, generational wealth, is there something, I'm always curious, 'cause I'm thinking there's a lot of families out there that aspire to be this or are building up to be this or in the process of doing this. And I was curious if there was something when you look at these families and you're like, they all seem to have this type of thing in common. I don't know if anything jumps out at you with that.
Yeah, what one thing does jump out. We were, working um, with a client on a valuation, and um, the part of the project he was trying to wrap up had to be delayed a month because one of the parties involved in the transaction unfortunately had passed, so that there was not kind of his family member, but just a professional. And he said as we were going round the second time and closing at the end of October, everything happens for a reason, and this was outside of my control, and I'm very grateful to be able to do this. And I think what struck me was that this guy was very successful, worth tens of millions of dollars, and um, his attitude towards the uncontrollables was everything is a gift, everything is an opportunity,
Oh,
um, and it's that sort of attitude and mindset that I think differentiates people who make it to the top and achieve what I think we're all aspiring to achieve, which is the American dream, and perhaps the people who hit some road bumps along the way.
that is huge, Daniel. That's huge because I personally love to do mindset work. I try to read a lot about that because I really feel that, what separates certain people from each other, those who succeed and those who achieve, it all starts with your thoughts and how you
Mm-hmm.
perceive things, right? And I'm so happy to hear that, because you know it's things that resonate with me as well, because I really feel that whether your goal is for a certain type of wealth, but it could also be a personal challenge, a personal goal, but it's all how you're perceiving things. And sometimes when we hit those bumps, when we have struggles, it's very, very easy to then go down that rabbit hole and just feel like, why is this happening to me, instead of turning it around and saying, okay, these are lessons and opportunities that are happening for me. It may not feel pleasant, but at the end of the day, you look back, and I think you've seen it. People have had
Yeah.
major struggles, people have had awful things. But I can't tell you how many times when I chat with them later, with hindsight, and they look at it, they seem to mostly say, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because they used it as a springboard for the next thing. But it takes that strong mindset to bite through it and really look at it, instead of just being sour and just being kind of a victim. So wow, I love hearing that. That's cool. That's
What
good.
what 100%. There's a caption I have somewhere. It's like, be better, not bitter.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. Love that. Uh-oh, I may have to put that up here then. I love that. I love that. So here's a question here. So, you've been with PCE for a while. Do you want to, maybe you can chat about, with all your expertise and your background, why that company? Why them? What made you feel like this is the place for me? And you've been there already. So I love to hear that, and have everyone understand, why you chose this.
Yeah, great question. So, PCE is a firm of about 35, 40 people in three different segments. I'm a director in our business valuation practice, which is about a third of the company's workforce. The other two hubs deal with selling businesses. So we have an office in Ridgewood, New Jersey, that serves the New York metro area, and our customers there are um, small to medium sized businesses, normally sort of founder owned, family owned businesses, which perhaps someone's reaching
Mhm.
retirement age and they're looking to sell. So that's a service that we offer. We tend to deal with companies 3 million or more in EBITDA, and help them find a partner, find a person to purchase the business. Often it's private equity. The second bucket is another group of investment bankers. These ones tend to help the same folks, so founder-owned businesses, but sell to an employee stock ownership plan. So that's
Got it.
one of the PCE specialties. And the reason I ended up here and was after kind of interviewing a few different places for a more senior role while I was at my prior company, was because of those three buckets of service. So I was increasingly encountering clients who not only needed an estate planning valuation to get the assets to perhaps their kids when they're in their late 40s, early 50s, but when I stayed in touch with them, 10 years down the road, that they were looking to sell the entire business to somebody else. Perhaps the kids had a share in the business, but they weren't. That wasn't their passion. The kids weren't coming into that office or that factory to do the job. They had other careers and other aspirations, and helping these people was a lot easier once I reached PCE because we had all those services under one roof.
That's great. No, I think that's nice. I think, if I were a business owner in that situation, I think it is nice to know that they can go to you and that there's so many other aspects of it, but I don't have to have so many people involved. Like it's a nice under one roof. I think that's very, very good. I think that's a big key that to me helps you stand out. Now, is there a business, Daniel, that you like helping that's kind of like in your niche that you're particular? It sounds like you can help really different types of industries, but I was curious if there was one that's really your bread and butter, I guess you can say.
Right. I'd say what we, as a firm, and myself included, tend to see a lot of is construction companies. So
Mm,
I have, worked on many of them across the years, and ranging from perhaps a few $1 million of profit and focused on a regional area to quite a bit bigger than that for various different types of transactions and estate planning options. And that has the opportunity to work on with those clients has given me a fair amount of knowledge about the uh, intricacies and the
yeah.
specialties in terms of accounting and um,
Oh,
metrics that these contractors really look at that will help you understand what they're worth. And we find that, just kind of stepping back, that those types of businesses,
mhm.
um, there's just a lot of them, and a lot of people who have built them up that are perhaps in their late 50s, early 60s, and that are
Yeah.
in need of what PCE has can bring to the table.
Do you find that those industries, Daniel, are a lot of the passing on to next generation or not? Like, I'm always curious about that too.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been a mixed bag. I think I'm working on one in New Hampshire right now where it is going on to the next generation. The son-in-law, I believe. So the I was talking to someone in your industry, another estate planning attorney, and um, they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to do an intentionally defective grant of trust, and we're going to get this asset to the son-in-law." That company is really set up for that. It's a little bit smaller, and then some
Okay.
of the larger ones, maybe they have more of a specialty.
Mm, yeah.
Um, those can be passed down to the next generation, but there's also um, appetite for those types of companies. Perhaps it's a specialty contractor um, that has some unique processes. Those types of companies can be very attractive to private equity, whereas the smaller companies that's just a general contractor based
Yeah.
on I'm sure you count this as well, that's based on the reputation of one person or one
Mhm.
family,
Yep.
that can be harder to find a buyer for.
I agree. I agree. I mean, unless it's probably again something that's probably lasted through generations. And I could think of a few of them here in Jersey where it is passing on to the next generation. And so they do have a great reputation. So I can see where someone might want to be involved with that, but they seem to always want someone with that family namesake involved. I have seen that, as well. One of the things I'm noticing then, Daniel, you're able to help people all across the country then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based up in the Northeast. We have employees, as far west as Denver at
Okay.
PC, and then up and down the East Coast. So some folks down in Orlando, and then as I mentioned, we have about ten people in Ridgewood, New Jersey. So um, we do pick up clients and have built relationships with different referral sources.
I
You
love
know,
that.
all
So,
over, fortunately.
what kind of so I guess I've always tried to find out too, what are key words that we should listen for that when we hear that might be someone that you might be able to help. Definitely, I guess if they're selling their business, that's one thing.
Yeah, if they're selling their business, if they're transferring their business, if if they build up a substantial amount of wealth in marketable securities or bonds, and it looks like they will um, be eligible or face at some point their estate would be taxable. Those people can be helped
Mm.
by PCE and the legal team. There's ways to create a holding company that helps get um, you know investments in mutual funds, in bonds, down to the next generation in a much more efficient way. So it's not just like business owners of operating companies. It can just be wealthy people who um, want to make sure that their kin get more and Uncle Sam gets less.
Beautiful. And I guess that kind of leads me to, so we have the elections coming up. So no matter what happens, there's going to be a new president. And I'm curious, do you have any words of wisdom or things that people should be aware of as we see changes that are going to happen? Are there things that, that you probably feel like, oh, these are things that they should be aware of, especially in your, in what you do?
Right, great question. So the thing top of mind for folks both who work as business appraisers in the trust and estate field and people in the legal field, tax and legal field like yourself, is the change in the GST limit. And while I'm not a tax expert, what this basically means is that if you make a gift now, and you transfer X million dollars of assets now, there is a bigger exemption that you can take advantage of than if you waited until um, later.
Yeah.
So the cutoff date is that you would need to make that happen before December 31st, um, 2025.
Yeah.
Now, if nothing changes in tax law, so say there's uh, a mixture of Democrats and Republicans sitting in different seats of power,
Yeah.
then uh, absent new tax legislation, that will come in. The limit will fall significantly, and what it means to people who could be listening to this podcast today is um, it's a use it or lose it situation, given the way the laws reads right now. So um, if you're thinking of doing any gifting in the next few years, it would be really smart to do it before the end of 2025 because you have a much bigger exemption bucket to take advantage of.
100%. That's exactly right. And those are the things that we've been looking at, So when we look at our clients who may have those type of taxable issues, we've been encouraging them to, let's review because, right now, they haven't repealed anything. They haven't decided. So, if we stick to the plan, you're right. There's going to be a major change with that. So I'm curious, Daniel. So what questions should people be asking themselves or their advisors? What should they be asking their advisors, like someone in your position, so they can stay ahead? And how can they prepare?
So the questions probably first go to their, their tax accountant or their attorney, and um, to do some, uh, analysis of, let's say, unfortunately, I pass 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and
Yeah.
perhaps this is where my legacy is right now. All the different assets that an individual might own or a couple might own. What what could be, if I did nothing, what could be the estate tax bill?
Correct.
Because I think starting there, it puts into context, the next steps that might happen. Because people sometimes I found, shy away from doing this because they think it's really expensive, or they think it's not necessary. And um, given everything going on right now, and the way the sunset is written into the law, um, some dollars spent on some smart trust and estate planning, perhaps there's a few tens of thousands of dollars spent now, could save millions and millions in taxes, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that could, help send, you know
Yeah.
three of your grandkids to college, or four of your grandkids to college, just by just doing some of those, planning steps, where you've helped many clients in those situations. But if they don't take the step of looking at what could be, um, that they may not be, that their family or the executor of their estate might be very surprised with the tax bill that comes due
Oh,
in 2030.
100%.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think, it does take sometimes, it takes time to really paint the picture, the whole picture, because it is very easy to get lost among the trees without looking at the entire forest, and I love the analogy because that happens a lot, analysis by paralysis. A lot of times people are just focused on certain things, and they're forgetting the big picture. What's the goal? What are we trying to do in the big picture? And if we can help you with certain things that we have to do today, but at the end of the day, it's going to get you to your goal. It's going to save you this. It's going to get that next generation to here. It's
Mhm.
worth it, but it does always take time, and it's an investment of everything. So Daniel, this was so good. I mean, I really appreciate you spending the time to chat. And I really think it was important for everyone to get to know you and hear what you do. And number one, I can tell you're very passionate about what you do and you're very good at what you do. So how can people get in touch with you if they, think that they need your services?
So in the comments to this video, we'll post my email address and, a link to PC's website. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Search Daniel Cooper CFA, and I'll be the top hit. So yeah, please feel free to email me, reach out to me, and connect on LinkedIn if you have any questions about what we've discussed today, or if you're in need of a business appraisal, and be happy to chat with the listeners here, to figure out whether our services are right for them.
Perfect, perfect. And I always like to end this way. What do you do for fun? What is something that you love doing?
So I compete every few months. I power lift.
Oh,
So this is something that I train like 4 or 5 times a week for,
no kidding.
and yeah, maintain a fairly strict diet, and had my last show a month or so ago, and I'm gearing up for another one early next year. So it helps get my mind off numbers, because when
Yeah.
when I've got a big lump of iron lifted above me, I have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, yes, I hope so, please. That's amazing. I did know I had she was a realtor and she's now working in the mortgage industry and she was into weightlifting. And I remember at her peak, I mean, my goodness, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I just finished watching that documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was on Netflix. And it was
Oh
so
yes,
inspiring,
that
so
that we should post a link to that in the comments,
okay.
because if any of the listeners have not watched the three-part documentary, the Netflix special
Oh,
on Arnold Schwarzenegger's life, wow, I would
right?
have loved to help that. Would love to help Arnie out with some estate planning. So
Oh
Arnie, if you're
my God.
listening, reach out to Christine and I. We'll help you get the wealth down to the next generation.
You got
Yeah.
that right. That is absolutely right. But now I am not. Now, if I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to think of you. And not a bad thing. Not a bad thing, Daniel. Wow, I'm impressed. So impressed on many levels. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was awesome. I appreciate everything. And everyone, again, I'm pretty sure you're knocked off your feet with how much information that Daniel shared with you, the insight that he gave, and just personally, what a great person he is. Just a good person. So I thank all of you for tuning in, and Daniel for your time. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Christine, it's been a pleasure. Perhaps in a couple of years I can hop back on the show, and
Oh,
we can have another
you
conversation.
don't have to wait a couple of years. I'll share you that. All cool. Very cool.
All
All
right, bye
right.
bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.